Hi. Okay. Thank you, everybody. So I'm going to present the work that we're doing on the Immersion Challenges workstream here. So as you may know, we started, David and I, by the way, I'm Raul, and David G with me. We are the co-leads of the Immersion Challenges workstream. So the goal of this workstream is about identifying the challenges on the immersion cooling industry and trying to bring or trying to get the feedback from the whole community and potentially act as a workstream incubator of sorts. So I guess that you are familiar with this slide that Rolf presented back then. That gives you, let's say, the main idea. So we've been actively supporting the industry and supporting the workstream definition with many products like many workstreams that you already heard about, like TCO warranties here with Rich as well. And that's actually more or less the process that we follow when we want to create a new product. So we survey, we get the feedback, and once we have, let's say, proper momentum and representation, we discuss to let's say, create a new workstream to further the discussion and potentially open new ways to solve many issues or many challenges that we discussed or we identified. So I'm going to discuss just a little bit, and I will hand it over to David, about the work that we've been doing, and we have identified, of course. Standard system operations is actually a big topic, as you may know. So we are discussing about hardware fluid servicing models and other, let's say, considerations to bring maturity to the immersion cooling market. In that sense, we are actually very soon kicking off a new workstream discussing about a fluid lifecycle model where we will have a broad representation from the fluid manufacturer side. But all in all, it's about, let's say, tackling over one of the most important things, which is actually system operations, hardware compatibility, fluid compatibility, and how do you work in an immersion cooling, let's say, setup with all of those factors. So all in all, I hand it over to David.
Thanks, Raul.
Thank you.
We evaluate main challenges, but also we take into account everything and try to work on that and take the contribution from our community. So one of them is monitoring and leakage detection, and there is many parameters which can be evaluated by fluid properties, and also there is a challenge to detect the leakage as the fluid is dielectric, and many ways is not working for that. So we have contribution from Will Young, which share with us main technologies which working on leak detection in order to save a time for our partners, our members, and understand which technology is best fit for the immersion cooling to detect the electric leakages, and not only the electric, also water, which work for both. And that is already in our all of that information in our workstream. So feel free to get that details. Another contribution from Brian Kincaid, who share with us their long years experience how to evaluate in real time and in lab test the properties of the electric fluid, bring that all together in one place in cloud, and predict and maintenance the fluid. So This is also in our work stream, and we are happy to share that information with other members. Another important topic is the evaluation of the market, get feedback from them. And this survey was initiated by Alison Bowen, thanks to Alison Bowen and Mark Rees. And after improving that, me and Raul prepared that in the best way, and soon it will be apply with OCP marketing team to the whole community to get the real understanding what market feel about immersion cooling. Another challenge is modular data center. As modular data center provide complete turnkey solution, and we want to get open source modular data center for immersion cooling. Right now, we don't have that in any option for that. But we realize that it's possible to do. We want to invite all the producers to start working on that, as if we will provide complete open source solution, it will be easier to implement by any customer, implement in the project. It will accelerate this transition to the immersion from air cooling. And yes, we will happy to invite more people, customers, producers to participate in our calls, give their feedbacks, and in this coming year, we plan to start new work streams.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. I mean, all in all, I will leave you guys with Rich here. I mean, the topic of this this presentation is about the challenges, and one of those is actually the work stream about warranty, hardware warranty. So I will leave Rich, which is actually leading this group at the moment,
okay,
to discuss about this challenge.
All right, and I do want to thank my colleague Michael, who could not attend. He's my co-chair on this. One of the benefits of OCP is how rapid you can adapt to conditions. And one of the things as we started contributing to all these hurdles or immersion challenges that are out there, we quickly realized that these could be split up into pre-day zero challenges of what is happening just to get the engineering of the tank and the fluid and the cables and everything working. And then, assuming we're going to be successful here, what's going to happen day one plus. And so we all anticipate that these tanks are going to last for years, and these systems are going to operate for years. But the business rigor, the things that normal consumers expect. So when you buy a car, you expect a warranty. You expect a recommendation on what kind of coolant goes in the car, a recommendation on what kind of motor oil goes in the car. And all of that's spelled out in your owner's manual. Okay, as many of you know, many of the products and systems out there don't have all that yet. Those recommendations are just starting now. And they don't share a common set of guidelines. And so what we try to do is build a toolkit for a paralegal or someone who actually builds a warranty at one of your companies for your particular corner of this solution. And I want to share, I want to go deep in a little bit about what warranties are and are not, because I think there's a lot of common misconceptions. One, from a strict kind of legal perspective, they're part of the sales contract. So when you sell a system to someone, typically you choose to offer a warranty or not offer a warranty. And that warranty, depending on where you live and depending on where that was manufactured and depending on where you sell it, may change. So state by state, country by country, there's different regulatory and legislative requirements for warranties depending on the industry. But typically that's part of a sales contract. That's an appendix in the sales contract, and it's typically written and it's very clear and spelled out. It could also be localized in a number of different languages as well, which is another challenge that we face together. there often is, especially in this case, there could be a dozen different sub-warranties for all the components that are included. So the pumps may have a different warranty than the coolant, than the tank, than the rack, than the motherboards, than the memory, than the CPU, and I think all of us are aware of that. But that concatenate of warranties confuses the customer, and that's a big pause button, and that's a challenge we all face together. It's okay to pause for a moment and reflect and read the warranties. It's dry, it's cumbersome, but it's difficult, but somebody has to do it. And so I think the onus is on us to make that as easy as possible for that paralegal or that finance professional who's actually reviewing that stack of warranties with this, sub-$1 million purchase order to try to figure out if this makes sense for them. We often ran into an issue as we started looking and surveying the warranties that are out there for air-cooled systems, because that's a good place to start. And a lot of these air-cooled systems had reserved words. So somebody started coining this term 7 years ago, and everybody kind of snapped to it. We don't have the luxury of kind of doing that as a slow roll over a few years. Our customers, because this is all new, there's a lot of scrutiny on us collectively to get this right. And so we have to kind of get this terminology synced up, consistent, reliable, and localized into at least a dozen different languages. And that is a difficult task because other industries get to slow roll this over years. And other industries will have, take automobiles, right? They have risk models built into those cars and how the risks are different for accidents versus motor oil versus coolant versus transmission. All of those risk models are built and to some degree shared across the manufacturers so they can recommend reasonable regulation in the future. And so for those of you who aren't aware, we're a relatively unregulated industry that could be subject to regulation very soon. EU's kind of first at bat, then it looks like the US is going to follow suit, and a number of other countries and organizations will probably do that. So it behooves all of us to kind of get our act together. And when those regulators go out, they typically seek industry guidance. They don't want to hear from any individual manufacturer. They want to hear from an industry consensus position. So when the EU is asking for feedback, they want an industry consensus position. They do not want to hear from just the Americans or just the hyperscalers or just this subset. They want to hear from a broad industry coalition. And to a large degree, OCP represents that today. Once the warranty is offered, everybody wants to reduce risk. Now, we all know that there's a different set of risks in the tank depending on what you've picked in that recipe, and those risks need to be mitigated. Mitigation measures are, hey, keep it under this flow rate, or keep it under this temperature rate, or keep it within this temperature range. There's a bunch of ways to do that, and typically that will be spelled out in the warranty. Some warranties will say, look, this is an air-cooled system and it's not designed for liquid-cooled, but a lot of people aftermarket can then take that air-cooled component and modify it or take the risk themselves that it will work. And that there's a rich set of system integrators and people out there modifying these systems. So I want to bring that up, that will always exist. There will always be people taking cars and doing aftermarket modifications, and there will always be people taking servers and doing aftermarket modifications. And you as consumers have the choice of how much you want to do or whether you want to buy from this or that. And that's the signs of a mature industry. Right now, we have a lot of work to do to get to kind of the all-in-one bundled up one. It's not quite there yet, but I think a lot of people are working in earnest to get there. I think the challenges, I'm not going to read this off, but this is the top 10 list that Michael and I cobbled together from your feedback, from the feedback of a lot of the component manufacturers who are offering individual parts and pieces that go into the tank, the rack, the final system. I want to note that a lot of these are not necessarily engineering related. So Michael and I, when we started this work stream, we kind of, okay, take your hat off as an engineer and just say, oh, look, you guys are going to figure it out. You'll probably figure it out in 9 to 18 months. Okay, you're going to have the engineering figured out. Then what do we do, right? There's so many business issues. And so we try to go tackle all those business issues and then reverse engineer those into how would those manifest in warranties. And so these challenges drove us to think about, and the number one thing that came up right away was we do not have generally accepted terms. And this is when I went straight back to Rolf and everybody else and said, we got to come up with a working model for a table of terminology and try to start to evangelize that and try to get the feedback in of all the possible things that are out there. Because if I'm calling it a pump and somebody else is calling it something else and it's in the warranty different ways, it's going to confuse the customer, it's going to have missed expectations, and that's not what we want for all these customers that are out there. Once they get the generally accepted terms, we'll find that we can leverage a lot of what's out there for air-cooled systems already, and we can drive this at multiple levels. So different levels are at different levels of maturity, and we kind of have to bring them all up to the same level and try to get them to 80% complete. They're not there yet. So both Michael and I thank you for all the feedback you've given us individually, anonymously. Please don't mention my company name. A lot of that happened. But we do appreciate all the feedback. We want more feedback. You can meet with us each week. And even if we get the feedback and it's not warranty, we're happy to pass it over to our colleagues who are working on the broader set of challenges out there. But I want to thank you for what you've given us already and what you might give us in the future. So,
Thank you, Rich.
yep.
Thanks.
So thank you. So do we have time for questions?
Yes, 1 minute.
Anybody?
No questions, no answers.
Don't be shy. Come on, Andy.
Show us, yeah. Okay. Yesterday I talked to a gentleman who has a business that offers firmware which monitors temperatures of chips. And it can push that data out to show the temperature in use of the silicon junctions. Do you think that kind of technology is going to help the warranty process for immersion prepared computers?
You mean that IT equipment will be in better conditions and that will extend their lifetime and improve performance, etc.?
That and it would be undeniable what the temperature environment that IT has been used in.
Maybe Rich?
Do you think, Rich?
So yes, the more temperature and flow rate you can not only measure, but record through some independent source is going to be helpful, yes. It'll be helpful in two ways. It'll be helpful to us to get the test data back, even if it's not covered under warranty, and it will be helpful for the customer to understand, oh, I can't run it at red line, or whatever it is. It could be, again, pumps, coolants, everything has to understand what temperature range it's going to operate in, as opposed to the engineering limits. Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. How do you see different fluid technologies impacting warranty? So different chemistries being used across the space and how that may impact standardization of warranty for components.
Well, that's a good one, because the variance in liquid coolants is growing. It's not shrinking. So the market is not ready or willing to consolidate yet. It's still expanding. The innovation a lot of you are doing is coming up with greener, cleaner, lighter viscosity. I mean, we just sat through a whole morning of all the different ways in which they're optimizing these coolants. So I would say that It's going to make it difficult on the test labs for the next few years. But then at some point, we'll settle, the customers will settle in on kind of the top 5, top 10 that they really want to deploy at scale with. But until then, I think we're going to deploy all over the map. That's my general sense.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.